What is up, gaming grapes? Your boy Yeatle here. You guys showed my last perk video a ton of love, so you already know I had to make one for supports. I grinded out a fair amount of top 500 support games just to make sure I'm giving you guys takes from a lot of experience. As I said in the last video, it is worth noting that all of these perks are subject to change during a mid-season or as future seasons come, so one perk that's bad now could be really good later. Because of that, I'll be updating a pinned comment if any of my opinions in this video change. Really quick, if you guys like videos like these, be sure to full sprint headbutt that subscribe button. It only takes a few seconds and it helps me out more than you know. Without further ado, let's perk it up. Starting with Ana's minor perks. The first perk we have here is Groggy. Enemies woken up by sleep dart are slowed and take 50 damage over time. This perk helps to kill squishy heroes in a shorter combo, but more importantly, it's strong against half the tank roster. If the team actually plans on following up on the sleep dart, it's basically more damage because the slow will make it so that the tank takes longer to reach cover. If the team doesn't help, it's still a good perk because it increases Ana's chance of escaping the slowed player. The perk does start to fall a bit short versus shield tanks and matrix tanks. It's a bit harder to hit sleep on them, and even if you do, they're going to use their damage sponge ability the second they wake up, so the value isn't great. Ana's second minor perk is Biotic Bounce. After exploding, Biotic Grenade bounces and explodes again for 25 damage and healing. This does a couple things. Like Groggy, it opens up some quicker kill combos, it gives Ana more self-heal, and last but not least, it also has a lot of area coverage. Overall, this perk doesn't have a downside and is just a buffed version of one of the best abilities in the game. Groggy has potential to be the better perk, but not all the time, and for those reasons, I say Bounce Nade takes the cake. Moving on to major perks, we have Headhunter. With this perk, Ana's headshots can deal critical damage. Once again, this is a perk that pushes damage breakpoints, giving Ana potential to win duels in one less shot. Similar to heroes like Kiriko or Illari, she can two-shot the super squishies, which is very strong, but unlike those heroes, Ana doesn't have the survivability to be as aggressive, which in turn makes it harder to get consistent value. Major perk number 2 is Shrike. When Ana nanos someone, she also nanos herself for a slightly shorter duration. Remember how I said Ana lacks in survivability? Well, this more than makes up for it by making Nano a get out of jail free card, as well as making Grandma a very scary 1v1. This perk pretty much makes her ult 2 ults in one, and in my opinion, that easily makes it her best. Next up, we've got Baptiste. His first minor perk is Field Medicine. This makes it so that Immortality Field restores 80 health to nearby allies and 40 health to Baptiste when destroyed. This makes scenarios like taking aggressive 1v1s or surviving dives slightly more favorable. Overall, it's a pretty simple perk. Alternatively, we have Automated Healing. Upon using Ultimate, Baptiste gets these auto-healing shoulder turrets that heal anyone in his line of sight. They can even be amped through the Ultimate for double the healing. There is no fall-off or range limit, so these turrets can quite literally heal players from across the map. This perk easily pushes his ultimate up on the tier list, and when support ultimates are some of the strongest in the game, having a better one is usually the best play for trying to carry, so my vote goes to the heal turrets. Moving on to majors, we have Assault Burst. With this, Regenerative Burst now provides Baptiste with 30% increased attack speed for 4 seconds. However, it no longer grants double healing to allies below half health. Less survivability is a pretty hefty trade-off. In games where getting dove isn't an issue, this is straight up just a damage buff and a no-brainer. Not to mention, it makes ulting to DPS an even better option. On the flip side, if Bap is getting dove and feels the need to reposition frequently, then the ideal perk is going to be Rocket Boots. It's worth noting that fully charging the boots is not a requirement. Short leaping is very much viable and great for getting places faster. Both of these major perks are great at covering what the other does not, so just pick based off the problem you're trying to solve. But if I had to say one is better, it's going to be Rocket Boots, just because mobility is always good. Moving on to Torb Jr.'s perks, we've got Barrier Restoration. Shield Bash grants 30% movement speed for 1.5 seconds, and bashing an enemy restores 100 barrier health. The best use case for this perk is to chase kills, run away, and sustain a bit more in 1v1s. But all that is a very little amount, so little that I'd argue it's not uncommon to play a game and get no value from it. On the other hand, her perk Morale Boost is an incredible perk with a lot of free value. This perk makes it so that Inspire lasts 3 seconds longer when activated activated by Whip Shot. That's straight up 45 extra healing for herself and any other teammate within hook range. Whip Shot is a 4-second cooldown, by the way. Needless to say, Morale Boost is her best minor perk, and it's not even close. As for her major perks, we'll start off with Whiplash. Whipshot's knockback can slam enemies into walls, dealing 50 extra damage. This damage makes it so that break can kill combo most heroes with one less input. Throw Rally Stun into the mix and it can be a guaranteed kill with the right setup. The problem with this perk is that setup. If map geometry isn't favorable, then you're pretty much missing a major perk. Her other perk, Quick Fix, makes it so that repair packs instantly heal an additional 35 health to critical allies. That's 35 free healing and it's burst healing. This perk helps a ton when the other support doesn't heal much, but also it's just a lifesaver for squishy heroes. It quite literally wins duels for the DPS. Both major perks are very good, but Quick Fix is just never bad, and so it wins the title for Brig's best perk. Checking out Illari's perks, we start off with Rapid Construction. With this, Healing Pylon builds 300% faster, and its cooldown is reduced by 1.5 seconds. I'm not gonna sugarcoat things, this perk is straight cheeks. Instant build Pylon sounds good, but it's really not, since the Strengthened Pylon is a safe setup rather than reactively using it in mid-fights. The 1.5 second cooldown reduction is peanuts when the cooldown lasts longer than most fights. You'd think it applies to the short reposition cooldown, but it does not. As for perk number 2, we have Summer Solstice. Activating Captive Sun grants Illari 3 extra seconds of flight, 20% increased flight speed, and 30% increased attack speed. This perk basically makes it easier to get value with the ult. Normally a diva could just hold Matrix the entire time to deny it, but with the speed buff and the duration increase, it's a lot easier to wait cooldowns out or just look for a better angle. It goes without saying that this is the better minor perk every time. Next up, we have her major perk, Sunburn. Enemies hit with Outburst are ignited, dealing an additional 70 damage over 3 seconds. It's got good damage, and it follows up into some combos that kill enemies sooner. I can't really complain much. Her other major perk is called Solar Power. Fully charged solar rifle hits grant 12.5% of your maximum solar energy, overfilling up to 50%. Basically, for those games where healing feels important, this perk is very powerful, pun intended. Although Sunburn is fun to land, it only gets a lot of use versus divey teams, especially since Illari is best played from a distance. So unless she really doesn't have to heal, then the second perk, Solar Power, is going to be her best major perk. Let's talk about Juno. The name of her first perk is Familiar Vitals. With this, her Pulsar Torpedoes lock onto allies 35% faster. Pulsar Torpedoes are best used offensively on enemies or prepared in anticipation of burst damage. What I'm trying to say is that using them reactively to heal is suboptimal normally. And for my 2 cents, 35% increased lock-on speed isn't enough to encourage a change in playstyle. So as is, not a very good perk. Thankfully, her other perk, Reboots, is very good. Activating Glide Boost resets Double Jump. This gives her higher ground to get better angles, as well as makes Juno a bit of a tougher target to reach, making it easily her best minor perk. Juno has a major perk called Locked On, in which the cooldown of Pulsar Torpedoes are reduced by 1.5 seconds for each enemy hit. This is a pretty good perk considering a lot of Juno's gameplay loop is looking for those offensive missiles. Juno's second major is Master Blaster. Similar to the Ana perk, she can now crit enemies. Given that she spends a lot of time in the sky, headshots are typically easier to land. Her high mobility also allows her to make some more aggressive plays with it, so this is definitely a perk that will get consistent value. The Locked On perk will be really good on open maps like Eichenwald or Blizzard World, but then a lot less useful on tight maps like King's Row. Both perks are contenders for best, but since there can only be one, I'm giving it to Master Blaster for its consistency. Kiriko has a perk called Fortune Teller. For each enemy hit, she launches 2 healing Afudas to an ally in front of her. The healing from 2 Afudas isn't much, but when spamming shots at a chunky tank like Mauga or Hog, it's free healing that adds up quick. Her second perk, Urgent Care, makes it so that healing Afuda's projectile speed is increased by 50% when seeking critical health allies. It does exactly what you think. It heals sooner. This could be a lifesaver considering healing the food as projectile speed is normally pretty slow. My take on these two perks is that Fortune Teller can do a lot or absolutely nothing. It all depends on the matchup. If the tank is hard to shoot, then the perk won't activate all that often. Urgent Care is simply never bad and can make a difference in any game, and for those reasons, it is Kiriko's best minor perk. Moving on to her major perks, starting with Foxtrot. Protection Suzu grants 40% movement speed to allies for 2 seconds. This perk sounds good, but its application can feel niche. Usually, if Kiriko uses Suzu on herself, she's about half a second from teleporting away, so using it for selfish flanks isn't great. The move speed buff only lasting 2 seconds also makes it impractical to use it for the sole purpose of speeding the team around. So pretty much the best case scenario is to help a feeding tank disengage or double down a little better than they would without the speed. Her other major perk, Shuffling, aka Double Swift Step, is easily one of the strongest major perks in the game. It makes her very difficult to dive and allows her to be even more aggressive positionally. It's kinda hard to compete with double TP, and for those reasons, Shuffling is the best pick 10 times out of 10. Lucio Gaming has some pretty nifty perks. One of them is Base Blowout. Sound Waves knockback is increased by 15%. This is a fantastic perk for getting environmental kills, booping enemies into the danger of your team, or just keeping them away. His second minor perk is called Beat Drop, which feels a little weird to say since I'm used to the ult sometimes being called that, but I digress. With this perk, Amp It Up is active during Sound Barrier. This is especially good because allow me to remind you that Amp It Up is a 12-second cooldown that lasts 3 seconds. He can use Amp It Up, then ult, and since it lasts the full duration of the ult, it's lasting twice as long as usual, and by the time the ult is over, there's only 4 seconds until he gets it back again. That is a crazy amount of speed and healing over time. Base Blowout is better on some maps or versus certain comps, but the perk Beat Drop is always really good and therefore it's the best minor perk. Talking about Lucio's major perks now, we have Accelerando. Lucio's attack speed is increased by 50% while Amp It Up is active. This is a good perk for you dive Lucios. If rolling out onto the enemy Widowmaker or supports is the play, then having what's essentially a damage buff is a pretty obvious pick. It's not bad for helping burst tanks, but picking Lucio to burst tanks is a pretty odd choice. Last of his perks is Noise Violation. Crossfade's range is increased by 150% while Amp It Up is active. This is generally the safest and best perk to pick if Lucio isn't playing away from the team. Angelic Resurrection. With this, Mercy gains 100 overhealth after casting Resurrect. Worth noting that she gains the 100 overhealth even if the res gets interrupted by leaving the range or getting stunned. This is a good perk in the games where no more than one person tries to deny res. The problem with that is the better the players, the worse the perk becomes. Throw in the fact that res is an ability that maybe gets used once a team fight, and it's not unlikely to end the game with literally 0 value from this perk. Her other minor perk, Winged Reach, increases Guardian Angel's range by 30%. This does 2 things. The first is faster heals. The less Mercy has to walk to targets, the sooner they get healed. Second, and more obvious, it gives her mobility to escape danger in more scenarios. So in summary, Res perk is best for noob lobbies, while Winged Reach is best everywhere else. Mercy's first major perk is called Chain Boost. This makes it so that Mercy's secondary fire links to a second nearby ally. This perk has a pretty unimpressive range on the second beam, meaning its best use is going to be with the team when healing isn't a high priority. If the other healer is low heals like Zen, it's not very helpful. If the team plays split, it's useless, and if the plan is to mostly pocket a DPS, then it's as good as picking no major perk. In comes her other major perk called Flash Heal. Flash Heal can be used on Caduceus Staff's active target to restore 50 health, tripled on allies below half health. Simply put, this is an extra ability that burst heals. There's no downside. It's her best major perk without a doubt. Moving on to Moira, her first perk, Uprush, increases Fade's jump height by 50%, so more mobility. You guys should already know how I feel about that by now. It's a very good perk, gives her access to more high grounds, which is a huge buff in her ability to survive and harass. The second perk is called Vanish. This increases Fade's duration by 0.5 seconds. Similar to the last, it increases Moira's ability to survive and harass, but now she also has the movement bonus longer, which gets her places faster. The downside is extra Fade duration is much bad when using it to dodge a single shot, finish a kill, or if she's using Coalescence and Fades, that timer's still taken away. If Fade were cancelable, it would be easier to call Vanish the better perk, but I feel like it's pretty even, so just go with whatever seems more fun at the moment. For me, that's going to be Uprush, so I'm claiming that to be her best minor perk. Next up, we have her major perks, starting with Ethical Nourishment. Biotic Orb's first 50 healing is instant on each ally it encounters. So it's burst healing, but not necessarily extra healing since it still draws orb resource. With that in mind, 50 instant healing isn't much for a tank, so best use cases will be herself or squishy allies. This is a decent pick if the player finds himself in the Moira healbot playstyle, but everyone knows DPS Moira is the carry play, and that's where her second perk comes in, Contamination. Enemies being damaged by Biotic Orb receive 25% reduced healing. This is pretty much the ideal perk for Moira since her damage orb is her poke tool, 1v1 winner, and ult opener. So it's almost always good unless healing is high priority constantly. With that being said, most of Moira gameplay is not that, so Contamination is her best major perk. Next up is Lifeweaver. The first perk we'll talk about is Cleansing Grasp. This perk was recently buffed to where Life Grip cleansing negative effects also reduces the cooldown. This is a fantastic matchup based perk. It helps Lifeweaver encountering teams with an Ana or Zenyatta, and to a lesser extent, Ashe and Mauga. In such cases, I would recommend picking this perk. But if you want an all-arounder perk, Life Cycle will get the job done. While alive, Lifeweaver regenerates 10 health per second. Upon death, drop a healing seed that heals allies for 250 health. 10 health per second for just existing is incredibly strong on Lifeweaver, and makes an already difficult to kill hero even more difficult to kill. This allows him to survive 1v1s, dives, and lets him poke more aggressively. Him dropping an egg on death is a bonus, but doesn't really move the needle when picking perks. And so Life Cycle is his best perk for the reasons already mentioned. As for his major perks, we have Life Weaving. Rejuvenating Dash adds 40 healing to the next healing blossom within 3 seconds. In games where Lifeweaver is uncontested but forced to heal bot, this is a very good option because it pretty much is just more healing. However, if he's getting dove or there's already a lot of heals to go around, then this starts to lose a bit of value. Super Bloom is the name of his other major. Thorns detonate for 40 extra damage when enough stick within 2.5 seconds. These days, Lifeweaver has some good damage, so a bit more never hurts. This is useful for shield break, tank busting, winning 1v1s, and just poke. Overall, neither perk is bad, and what's best just depends on what that particular game needs. Healbot, go Life Weaving, damage, go Super Bloom. Personally, I'm giving Super Bloom the edge because Damage Weaver's just more fun. Last hero on this perk list is Zenyatta. His first perk is Zenith Kick. This makes it so that Snapcake's knockback is increased by 30%. As troll as it sounds to build into more knockback with Zen, it's actually not bad when he's getting dove. That little extra kick distance can sometimes be enough to push tanks like Winston or Reinhardt out of range, or just make any other hero work harder to land shots. There's definitely more environmental potential, but I wouldn't bet on that one. Let's talk about his other perk, Ascendance. Activate and hold double jump to hover for up to 3 seconds. This gives Zenyatta access to a few more high grounds, offers a bit more flexibility repositioning, gives him some unexpected poke angles, and a bit of a movement mix-up. Both of these perks are somewhat situational, but I'd say Buff Kick is more situational since it depends on enemy playstyle. If he doesn't get dove, it's very easy to have a game where Kick never gets used. Floating can be really useful on some maps and less so on others, but at least they'll be usable, and for those reasons, this is generally the best of the two. Duality is a recently buffed major perk where Zenyatta's Heal Orb of Harmony targets for 40% of his damage dealt to Orb of Discord targets. So the scenarios where this will get consistent value is when the enemy tank is easy to lay into. That could be something like a Mauga v Mauga tank battle, or if Zen's other support is getting dove. This is another one of those good perks versus bad players, but not so much versus good players. Good tank players will get discorded, then hide until discord is gone. Good divers, more often than not, will choose to dive Zenyatta first and not the other support. If you feel mostly uncontested on Zen, then go for it, but I can't imagine that'll happen too often. His other major is called Focused Destruction. Secondary fire charges 20% faster and can store 1 extra Orb of Destruction. This perk is pretty much more damage with no downside. No further explanation needed, this is generally his best perk. And with that done, we have completed this best perks for supports video. If you enjoyed enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe, especially do so if you'd like to see me make a best perks for DPS video, because then I'll know there's still interest in it. As always, thank you for watching, and good luck on the grind.